Hi everybody, Christina Dozier here with Dozier Properties, and today we're going to talk about purchasing a new construction home. Let's get started. Doing Blue Tape walkthroughs today for new construction, and so that's why we're bringing you this video from a parking lot. That's right, we wanted to stop and make sure we're talking to you about it today. All right, the first thing that we want to talk about with purchasing a new construction home is that earnest money isn't really the same with new construction. Typically, earnest money is instead what's called an earnest money deposit. That's right. Usually they're taking this as more of a construction deposit, and the same rules as far as earnest money and when and how you can get it back don't apply. So that means make sure that you're really thinking it through when you go under contract on that new construction, because typically that builder can choose to just keep that money even if you pull out for any reason or it's almost immediately after you went under contract. Be careful, or make sure you choose a realtor who's a great negotiator to make sure they get you a few weeks due diligence. Next, let's talk about the amount of that earnest money deposit or that construction deposit. Typically in this market, earnest money is 0.5% to 1%. However, with builders, it varies widely depending on the price point, the location, and the builder. In this market, I'm seeing anywhere from 2 to 10% being required by a builder just to make sure you go under contract. Some need it within 3 days, some will let you put down part of it up front and give you 30 days to come up with the rest. Either way, you want to make sure you understand exactly what that requirement is, if there's any possibility to get that money back if you change your mind, because there probably isn't, and then make sure that it's not a red flag that the builder is cash strapped. Next, let's talk about time under contract. Typically, you can close a home with some kind of a mortgage product in 30 days, sometimes just a little bit less, but usually always within 60 days. When you're building a home, if you're custom building, it could take a year or more. If the home has already been started, it could take several months, and it really depends on the builder's standard timeline and on their processes. Also remember that right now, during the times of the coronavirus pandemic, supply chains are broken at every point in the chain and all over the country, so there can definitely be unforeseen delays. Make sure that you ask questions of that builder about how these delays have been working for them, and then what is the plan if something doesn't go as planned as far as the builder timeline for when you're going to close on your home. Next, let's talk about final walkthroughs. Typically with a builder, you're going to get 2 walkthroughs. The first is going to be what us realtors like to lovingly call the Blue Tape walkthrough. You're typically going to get to walk through with somebody who represents the builder as well as your realtor, and you're going to use small rolls of blue tape to mark where any paint imperfections are. You're going to use some green tape to mark where drywall imperfections are, and you're going to get a home orientation from your house directly from the builder. Next, let's talk about having a home inspected when it's new construction. Many people think, hey, this is a $500 or so savings because it's brand new. Why would I need to have it inspected? Listen, homes are built by humans. Humans make mistakes. Absolutely, I always 100% recommend still having your individually hired, licensed, and bonded inspector go out and inspect that home. And we want to make sure that we let that builder know the inspector is coming so that we can make sure there's no liability with that person entering the property before there's a certificate of occupancy or before construction is complete. And we want to make sure we time it so it doesn't get into the way of your walkthroughs, but so that we've given you enough time to make sure that we address any concerns that may come up with that inspection, just like we would with any other home purchase. All right, next, let's talk about final walkthrough. Typically, this happens the day of or the day preceding closing. This is where you get one last chance to walk through your home and really take a look at everything, make sure that everything on your final list of small fixes from the builder that you marked down during that blue tape walkthrough has been taken care of, and just make sure that you feel great about everything ahead of your closing. Typically, when you are negotiating for a home, things like a home warranty or a termite bond are items that you are negotiating in upfront or during your repair amendment. With a builder, many times these are part of the perks of buying new construction. Typically, your appliances come with a warranty if you make sure and register them. The home will come with a 30-day and then a 1-year warranty, and then many of your systems will have a 5 to 10-year warranty as well. Plus, they're all brand new. That's right, even your cabinets and your roof have a tendency to come with a warranty, which is fantastic for you and means fewer surprises within your first few years of homeownership. All right, next, let's talk about lenders. Typically, a builder is going to have a preferred lender, and they will offer you some extra incentives if you choose to use that preferred lender. These come in the form of the builder contributing extra closing costs or maybe even extra perks or upgrades. However, don't always assume that you're going to get the best deal with that builder's preferred lender. What I usually recommend to my clients is also apply with a trusted local lender, and I can provide you with some names if needed, and make sure you compare rates. It doesn't matter what relationships I have. Bottom line, we are here to represent the client and get the very best deal for the client, and that means rate shopping and taking a look at those fees. Typically, a good local lender can compete with a better rate, better service, and lower fees that end up making it a wash to use that builder's lender. However, that's not always the case. There are also some fantastic builder lenders out there. So what I'm saying is, do your research. Next, let's talk about competition, loan types, and multiple offer situations. In this crazy seller's market, many folks are having a little bit more trouble with loan types that have a few more requirements, that are government backed, or that require less down. This is why many people with those loan types tend to turn to new construction. By default, new construction means that there's a little bit less competition because so many new homes are being built at once, and because the construction is brand new, there tends to be fewer issues, and if there are issues, they're more likely to be mitigated by the builder, which means the lender is going to feel a little bit better about lending on it, and it makes it a little bit easier for somebody with one of those loans that has more requirements to purchase new construction. Next, let's talk about closing day. Unfortunately, it is much less likely that you're going to be able to negotiate the exact closing day that would work for you when you're purchasing new construction. A builder is building many homes at a time usually, and they also are at the mercy of the trades that are completing the home as well as the supply chain timeline. So typically, a builder will be able to provide you with a closing date when they get to a certain level in construction. Especially right now during these crazy times of the pandemic, almost nobody knows exactly when they're going to close at the time that they go under contract. So keep that in mind and make sure you have a plan B for if your closing date moves. And lastly, your closing attorney. Typically, when going under contract on a pre-built home, the buyer gets to choose their closing attorney, especially if they're not requesting that the seller contribute to any closing costs. However, with a builder, typically that builder is the one choosing the closing attorney. They want to send all their files to that same attorney who knows exactly how closings work and what the fee structure will be, as well as any transfer fees or HOA fees for that new construction neighborhood. Even though you don't get a choice, it usually ends up being more efficiency because the attorney is very familiar with how closings will go in that neighborhood. Also, don't expect to know your closing time until perhaps even the day of. These attorneys are closing many homes in that neighborhood on the same day, and things move around all the time. So make sure that you are just being as flexible as possible and openly communicating with your builder and with your realtor to make sure you get that home to closing and that you're pleased. Good luck, happy hunting for new construction, and as always, if you need a trusted advisor, make sure you contact us.